Hi, my name is Jay Rothman, and welcome to Real Men, Real Talk Live. Good evening. I am the host of the show. Again, my name is Jay Rothman, and I am actually coming in from Sedona this evening. I would like to welcome to the studio Josh Richer, the man living in a bubble somewhere in the United States of America, working on set production for a major TV show. We have Jeff Fasano coming in from Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome to the show, the two of you guys. And of course, we have At Peace, Charles, aka Charles Richer, coming in from Tampa, Florida, and Evis, the man of the land from down under, also known as Love Heath. Welcome to the studio, coming in from New South Wales, Australia. Welcome to the show, guys. Good to see you all.
Yeah. How come the two minorities?
I think I heard Charles Richer then. Charles Richer, how are you?
Charles Richer. Huh? he was Toby 2 weeks ago. Now he's Charles Richer.
We became related somehow immediately.
So I do want to acknowledge Charles. Charles is at peace, obviously, because he's the only man that I know today that is confident enough with himself to show up in his bathrobe on a talk show.
And no boxes.
Well, yeah. It was TMI. I don't know. Any of us need to know that. Unless some of the viewers are interested to know those details. But I do like your hat, Charles. What is that? What is that hat?
Yeah, this is our new merchandise right here, guys. This is Real Men, Real Talk. You can go ahead, and I think we're going to get this up there so anybody can order that and our beautiful tea cups right here. You can go ahead and you could sip on that and think of us as you go like this. All right, there you go.
All right. Well, speaking of tonight's show, I hope you guys have all had a good week of success in your life, great health, breaking through whatever challenges you may be facing or have been facing. This week's topic, we decided in our meeting on Tuesday that we wanted to jump into breakups, and do breakups potentially lead to a breakthrough, and through the breakthrough, can it lead to breaking free? And it's a great topic because as we all got together this week, we learned that both Charles, who's at peace tonight, has recently gone through some, let's call it some relational challenges and opportunities. And Josh Richer also acknowledged the same for him. And both kind of taking a path that perhaps is leading them to new understandings about themselves. And so what I like to do is open the show up. This is a hot topic because I know that right now the divorce filings in the United States is up 36% over the same time last year.
Wow.
Now, of course, the experts are determining that is due to the additional stress of the pandemic, unemployment, and all that has gone with that. And it's caused couples that weren't per se in the same home all day long because they were at work. Now they're at work is at home. And so there's many different reasons that the flaws and the stress cracks in the foundation of relationships are popping out and are cracking like crazy. 36% is a huge, huge jump. So we know that the numbers don't lie. The numbers are the facts. And we know that we all, to a degree, been challenged with how we are showing up, whether it be relationships with boyfriends, girlfriends, employers, employees, friends, siblings, parents. We're all getting tagged, and we've had an opportunity to learn more about ourselves or not. And so with that, I'd like to open it up to Josh Richer tonight to start us off tonight's show. And
I hope you were going that way.
Yeah,
I was afraid you were going that way.
well, you guys figured out it was going to be one or the other. And since Charles seems to be at peace, I figured let Josh warm the setup, and maybe just start to chat a little bit about what has been going on in your life. You know, on one hand, I hear you've gone through a breakup, and you know, for some people, it depends on how you spell it. If you spell it BRAKE, it may be that you're just putting your foot on the brake. But if it's spelled with an EAK, then perhaps you guys are detached. So which is it? Are you breaking up or are you breaking up?
Wow. Well, it was a break up, but it was because of me. And it became a beautiful lesson. It became a huge opportunity. And I'm still sort of just, you know, after unpacking all of this, I'll tell you what happened. It was basically in my life, due to we talked about the mom, you know, on the mom episode, we talked about how I was kind of given that role at a young age of making sure that my mom was going through her, you know, traumatic brain injury, and leaning on me emotionally. And so I took on this role at a young age of feeling like it was my responsibility for everyone's happiness around me. And I've carried that role. And as I've led teams on, you know, TV shows and things and been in a role where I hire, you know, people beneath me, I've taken on this mom role of always making sure that everybody's okay, everybody's happy. And that's not only in my work life, it's in my personal life, and of course in the girlfriends that I've had. And I haven't noticed this pattern. I just thought I was a loving, caring, kind person. But in this particular relationship that I've been in here the last 8 months, it's been a challenge. We don't live in the same time zone, and so we're trying to do the long distance. And I was putting all this extra pressure on myself to make sure that she was okay, and doing a lot of our relationship through messaging. And you know, she would say, "I miss you." And I think she meant it as like, "I miss you," but I would read it as, "I miss you." You know, that I need to hear from you more. And there was a whole lot of things that we didn't talk about. And that was kind of our fault. And I was reading things through my patterns, right? Because that's what we do. We see things through our patterns. And I was seeing the need to take care of this person more. And it became this weight and this responsibility. And all of a sudden, it was her that woke me up to it. And she said, my happiness is not your responsibility. I can take care of myself. I just want to spend time with you. And I actually broke up with her because the weight was too much. I've been super slammed at work, and it was just too much. And she's a wonderful, beautiful person. And it was my problem. And it was my need what I felt like was my job to take care of everybody else and make sure they're happy. And she brought that to me. And what an amazing, she brought it with love. She brought it with kindness, and presented me this thing. And I'm so grateful. So our breakup, and very on topic tonight, has been our breakthrough, and my breakthrough of this huge letting go of this responsibility to take care of others. And I'm trying this last week, after unpacking all of that last week, and it was a hard week and a challenging week. This week, I'm trying to move forward in relationships without that responsibility. And I have to admit, it's awkward. It's weird. I'm trying to be a good boyfriend, but not take on that role. And how do I share life and joys and things with someone, and not assume that role? And so I'll fully admit, I'm in new territory, and I'm trying to get used to it.
I want to take a moment here, Josh, just to honor you and acknowledge that, I could tell even just by the way you've just been sharing, you're uncomfortable a little bit. You're kind of, yeah, and I get it. But I also appreciate the fact that you're live. You're coming in live streaming and you're sharing what most people refer to as a very private, personal challenge. And yet here you are putting it out here on the airwaves. And so I thank you for showing up tonight and being real. I would like to just tag and say to you, Josh, is that what it takes is really, it's about breaking the chain. It's the chain. You actually said you have always felt responsible for your mate's happiness, for your girlfriend or partner's happiness. And with that comes a huge heavyweight burden. And it's that chain. And the only way to break through, to break free of that chain, is you got to cut the ties. And where you got to cut the ties goes back to your first female relationship you've ever had. And that is the one with your mom. And by no means am I inviting you to not have a relationship with your mom. But what I mean by cutting the cord or cutting the chain is that it's just honoring and loving your mom right where she's at without feeling that responsibility that's not your role. That's a role you took on as a younger self, but it's not the role you have to live in today, especially in your relationships of intimacy when you have a monogamous relationship with a woman. And so that's where, Everest earlier today did a beautiful chat downloading for tonight's show, all about what breaking free can feel like. True breaking free is when you can break yourself free of your old behavior. And it's just through consciousness and awareness that it's just about changing how you show up. So I know we're gonna come back to you and all, but I want to kind of open it up and ask. Let's say ask Ev, what do you make of what Josh just shared? And Charles, you could stay on the edge of your seat because you're up next, brother.
And also when Evis goes into that, also maybe explain, Evis, why we picked this topic, and also it's not just relationships as far as man and woman. It could be any relationship. So I just to let that be clear, because when I get to my part, this ain't about this is about friendship. So I got a couple of baby mamas in there and a potential 2 baby mamas in here. So I want to make sure we get that clear. So go ahead, Evan.
Yeah, no, I'm hearing you, brother. But as always, brothers and sisters on the other side, here in the land down under, thank you for having us on a Real Men Real Talk Live. And for me over here, always showing my gratitude and thanks for being on the show with my brothers tonight. And Josh, man, brother, thank you for sharing that beautiful vulnerability of yours. It is the true strength that we're going through on this planet right now. And look, we've just got to think about this year. We've come out of such a time where we were in flight or fight mode most of the year, from February, you may as well say. So no different are the relationships in our life going to be challenged. We now come into a time though where we have this opportunity of a lot more clarity, a lot more vision, and being able to see what relationships may have been, what we were programmed to think that relationships were, to where they're going. You see, going to relationships, like my brother Charles just talked about then, we've got to consider the relationships with many things within our lives. We've got to consider the relationship, most importantly, that we have with ourselves. When we start to actually see that mirror of that person that comes into your life, or that pet, it could look like your job, whatever that mirror may be, is truly simply a reflection of the relationship that you are having internally within inside of yourself. So it truly is an opportunity for us to see the color, the richness and the texture of our life and how it plays out in the world. So how do we get through and navigate through these relationships? It's through what we see out there, like I said. Through my past experience, I've only been through a separation over the last 3 years. But when I started to come back home there were some gold nuggets within that. And Jay just mentioned one of those. And that was to go back to my childhood to understand some of the deeper things that were going on within my world. And being able to, like we said, cut the cord energetically and be able to let go of that particular person, event, circumstance, or energy, whatever it may have looked like, to be able to create the space to get this better expansion and understanding of what a relationship is. Because as we shift and as we transition into this new planet, into this new way of living, we're going to start to see that that word relationship is actually going to be about partnership. It will not be based on previous attachment relationships. It will be based on synchronicities of love, connection, and where your frequency is on your highest vibration.
I like that last part.
Yep.
I like the last part.
Which part was that, Peace?
Beautiful, Ev.
The last part, as far as as far as your higher self, and that connection, that was deep. That was mature.
Thanks,
So at Peace, I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'd like to refer to you as Charles in this moment. Where are you at with your so-called breakup? And have you had any
breakthrough, brother? Breakthrough. Get that right here, Jay.
Tell us more. What have you learned? Or what are you learning through this?
It's been interesting, and I know we had some good conversations the other day, and I was definitely fired up a little bit different that day than I am right now. I think that day it was more of, I fully was free that day of the self-guilt. And I know that over the last couple of weeks, man, I'm sure I've been taking some of our friends and family over here, and even you guys on this ride, as you probably didn't understand all the dynamics. But it was one of those things where somebody had kind of called into question, in many ways, my integrity, what I wanted to impart as a friend, what I did impart as a friend, and it made me have to question myself, and I started to look in the mirror and felt self-guilt. So for weeks it was like, man, and what did I do? What did I say? And it was one of those things where, and I know I posted something on Facebook about this, and a lot of people commented on it. And when you have toxic people in your life, they at times will deflect really what they are, and will push that off on you, and you will really have yourself trying to figure out look in the mirror and be like, whoa, until you finally realize, no, it's not me, it's this person and what they're deflecting off on me. So for a few weeks, it was a lot of self-guilt, and it shook me to my core, like we were saying, because I had never met somebody like this. I had never been in this situation where my integrity was called into question. So it was a ride, but I'm amazing now. And like I said, that day, it was one of those things where it was like, I needed to wake up that day, and I finally woke up that day, and man, I'm in an amazing place right now and truly blessed. And we can go into a little bit of the story a little bit later, but in everything that person deflected is exactly what they were. And they have a ton of toxicity. And when I mean a ton of toxicity, and as we talked earlier, see, the thing is I think why I caught myself and why I was even in that situation is, for a minute, it was a lack of immaturity. Then it was also, as a single dad, I wanted a friend. You know what I'm saying? I wanted somebody to laugh with, to talk with. I don't have many friends out here. I don't go out, no family. And it was kind of like, you know what, man, I wanted a friend. And obviously they lived close, and we became cool. but I saw so many warning signs that made me say, that should have made me say, dude, run. And I'm talking warning signs that would blow you out of your seat, that I just let slip by. Because once again, in the work that I do and in my character, it's always about helping. It's always about the wounded, trying to heal the wounded, always about trying to rescue. And I have a saying, no new friends. And I should have stuck to that. And I should have heeded those warning signs that were blaring to me, but I didn't. So, you know, it's a more of a breakthrough where I'm at right now, and it's an amazing moment. And did I learn from it? Yeah, I did. But it wasn't something that I wish I went through, because the right people will bring the best out of you. The wrong people will totally bring the worst out of somebody. So
Thanks for sharing that, Charles. As I acknowledged with Josh, you know, and it's uncomfortable when we are in the throes of a breakup and we go through the cycles of so many different emotions. And, you know, that's why it's called a trip. But through the trip, we have a choice always. Do we turn left? Do we turn right? Or do we go straight? And what I've learned in my own healing journey is that which way you go is going to determine if you repeat the same experiences, or do we learn from it so that we can avoid it next time. And so it's always a great opportunity to look less at what they did or said and how they showed up. And it's a greater opportunity for us to look and ask the question, why was I attracted to that in the first place? Yep. And why did I hang on as long as I did? Yep. Not to beat yourself up, but to learn from it so that you can protect yourself, protect the part of you that deserves to be protected, which is your heart space and your soul. And so, Jeff Fasano, you have been such an amazing listener, which is what in relationships we all desire. We desire to be in a relationship with a partner who can be a great listener. And so thank you for listening really well tonight. But I'd like you to share from your perspective. You've had a chance to hear a little bit about Josh and Charles's tonight. What's your take on all this, Jeff?
Well, actually, I want to go back to the very beginning when you said 36%. There's a 36% divorce rate, or people filing for divorce. I want to kind of look at it like maybe people are doing the inner work and they're realizing more of themselves deeply within themselves. And then they're all of a sudden realizing, wow, I'm shifting the relationship I have in myself, and I'm realizing the folly and the fallacy of this relationship that I was in before I worked on myself. I kind of want to look at it that way. Maybe people out there are finally taking a good long look within and realizing, as Eva said, and as you just said, Jay, the only relationship we're ever having is the relationship we're having with ourselves. See, and any relationship that we're having with anybody else, anything else, our job, our friendship, our siblings, our girlfriends, our boyfriends, and all that is a direct reflection of the relationship we're having with ourselves. And what you just said, Jay, was so right on. It's never about the other person. And what I said today in my little video is we can keep on telling the story about that person, what that person did, what they said, who they are, what that is. I've done that, and I've done it big time. I've done it big time until a guy came to me once and said, you know something? I can keep on hearing the story of Jeff and her, but why don't you take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, why have you created that? And I really didn't understand it. This is about 20 years ago, and I really didn't understand that. And now I look at my relationships and all the different crazy relationships that I've been in, how I used to tell the story, just to reflect looking at myself. And then it's now about coming back within and saying, wow, you know, like Josh just talked about, whoa, you know what? I need to look in the mirror here. This is a pattern, maybe. And looking at the patterns, I had patterns, you know, I had patterns of the girlfriends that I had, and mainly they were all unavailable. And then I had to turn around and look at myself and say, where am I unavailable? I say I'm available, but I'm attracting women who are unavailable, and even friends who are unavailable to what I say I want. Because we all know what we say we want. So the real important thing is, as Evis just said, is really we need to go within. We really need to go within and look at the relationship, ask ourselves, what have I learned about me in that relationship? If the relationship went sour, what am I learning about me? What patterns are coming up with me? What old habits are coming up with me? Why is that relationship the same as this one, and the last one, and the last one, and the last one? What is this behavior that's going on? And if we keep on becoming a victim or blaming and shaming the other person, we'll just continue that. So it's so important to learn from all of those relationships, and then find the breakthroughs within us. What is the breakthrough within us?
Let me jump in there too for a second. And I love that. I love that, Jeff. I do think that at times you could fall into the eye of the hurricane, no matter what you do. And I look at, you know, even in that comment that Donna said, I'm the wrong person magnet. Donna's a sweetheart of a person. And I'm sure she's done all sorts of things to better herself, to look at the situation in the right way. At times, there are people, and I'm just going to say men, where all they're doing is looking to play games, and they could meet the sweetest of women. I mean, this woman could have herself together. She can be a great person. But if that person is you know, smooth talking and full of game and just something that just attracts you, they can get caught in the eye of the needle. It's not even about, you know, what they are attracting at that point per se, because sometimes people really just pull the wool over your eyes and you don't even realize, because not all of us are looking for the wolf. Some of us open up our hearts and say, hey, you know what, man, I'm in a good space. How are you in a good space? Yeah, I'm in a good space.
Charles, what you're describing right there is one word. It's called seduction. It's seduction. You were seducted. That happens.
Yeah.
What man and woman can't be sweet talked into seduction. However, what we get to do is pay attention to what's behind the seduction. And there's where it gets slippery and it gets tricky very, very quickly. Why? Because we ultimately want the same thing. We want to be loved and we want to share love. And you know what happens with seduction, it's not just like a mind game. It's real things going on in your body. We all have something called hormones. And when we're seduced emotionally, it affects us physically. Our body gets flooded with these hormones that just flood our body. And then all bets are off in that moment, right? Ev, what do you make of that? How do we know how to navigate through what Charles described, which truly is seduction? And how do we know when it's safe and when it's unsafe? Because really that's what we're talking here about, right, guys? Are we safe or is it an unsafe seduction for men and women?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, you said it pretty well there straight away when you started speaking, Charles, and you talked about how do we get swept into this eye of the hurricane. Well, when we think about our eyes, where are we focusing on? Where is our attention? Where is it paying attention to? See, we've got this beautiful opportunity, and we've said it time and time again, that we are starting to come into a higher part of our brain. It's called your cerebrum. The RAM represents the higher part of your brain coming out of that cerebellum. So when we start to get that higher part of our brain and we start keeping our eyes on our own paper and come to the place of the heart to use that inner navigation system we call our intuition, then we won't be led on these trails of seduction. It's all out there. It's all out there in different forms and different energies. But it really does come down to where we're paying our time, our focus and our attention and our energy to. This is an energy game. The physical is just the surface. It's energetic.
Yeah, exactly. It's about it's really about knowing yourself, paying attention to yourself, and really going into that intuition. I mean, a couple of years ago, a woman was coming, always texting me, Facebooking me and all that good stuff. And she's in New York and I went to New York, and she came after a photo shoot in her white Mercedes, and she's beautiful. And she handed me the keys to the Mercedes and all that good stuff. And we went back up to where I was staying. We had dinner, yada, yada, yada. And then it became, right away, it went from this amazing, amazing thing into a battle in the matter of a week.
Wow.
And I got sucked into the battle.
What was the battle, Jeff?
Until I realized, I went, oh my God, what am I doing here?
Jeff,
hold on, Charles, hold on.
Go ahead.
I'll let you know what the battle is. There's no peace. There's no joy. We're not building anything. All this person was doing was her stuff was coming up because we got so close so quickly that she was fighting for her separation and pushing me away. But I got sucked into trying to help her with that and the battle until I realized, wait a second, there's no peace. There's no joy. We're not talking about how much fun we have. And so I got sucked into that seduction and that battle for about a week until I realized and opened my eyes and said, whoa, I lost my tools. I lost my training because she was beautiful. It was an amazing couple of nights together. It was amazing. And I wanted that and thinking about that instead of realizing that she was doing everything to push me away because of all the fear that was coming up in her that, wow, we got really, really close. Mm-hmm. And then the Charles, so the answer to the question, the battle was her battling to push me away and fight for her separation because all of this stuff started coming up within her of whatever that was, her childhood, her past and all that good stuff. But I got sucked into that battle and then realized afterwards, because what I literally did was hang up the phone on her one day and just slammed it, and that was it. And then every time I just cut it off, and then eventually cut it off energetically. But what I realized, what I had to do after that is what is it about me that drew me into that, because I was living in Los Angeles at the time. She was in New York. And I said, what's going on with me? Wow, she is showing me how unavailable in her heart space she is and how frightened she is of intimacy and all of that good stuff. And she started the battle. It's like, a relationship ends when the power struggle starts. I mean, we were together, went together for 3 days, and the power struggle was starting after a freaking week.
You know what's interesting about that, Jeff, is that if you look at the pattern of new couples, by 6 months, the majority of couples that haven't done any, we'll call this self-discovery work,
Yeah.
they're already in battle. And the majority of those relationships by the 1 year mark have gone south. That's the ticker. By 1 year, you've hit your maximum tolerance or threshold for pain. Now, the beautiful thing is that it took you less than 3 months to have that happen from what you shared. But what I also find interesting, Jeff, is in your description of the seduction, 2 things that stood out. White Mercedes.
White Mercedes car.
Now, so let me ask you this, Jeff.
Hey,
what
I
kind
got
of
the
car are you driving today, and is it white?
No, it's not. But, I'm telling you, when I look back at that, the coolest part of all of that was have her throw me the keys, and I'm driving a white Mercedes up Broadway in Manhattan. That was so cool.
You were a boy again. It was a boy again.
Really? I was. Yeah, exactly.
Her throwing you the keys was part of that initial seduction.
Oh, no doubt. There was a great connection. But after it was not 3 months, it was 3 weeks, Jay.
Yeah, I know.
I had to stop and just step back and go. I went. It's not about her. I could talk about that story and all of what was going on there. I just had to step back, call somebody who I trusted, and say, you know what, this just happened. What's going on with me?
Beautiful.
Where am I unavailable? Where am I? Why am I? Where am I still unavailable? She's showing me how unavailable she is. So I have to be that unavailable underneath me to really want now the intimacy and the connection in the heart space that I really want.
And you know what's interesting with that, Jeff? That's probably a pattern for her. In a lot of cases, for a lot of women, they have a pattern, depending on the woman, and that person
and men too, brother.
And men too. We have patterns.
No, I know. Of course, but I'm just talking about in as far as certain women, certain situations, they have a pattern. And at times we just might fall, it depending on where we're at, if we get sucked into that pattern, right? Because we have to be able to look and say, hey, does this person have a pattern of this? Because when I look back now and I see the situation that person just got out of, and once again, ours was just a friendship, but literally they just got out of something and came, and the first things out of their mouth was this horrible situation that they were dealing with. And every other situation that they were dealing with was also horrible. And this person was horrible. And this person was the worst kind of person you could ever imagine. And I'm listening to this and I'm just like, okay. And now if you step into that pattern that they've had for some time of these terrible friendships or relationships, then you can once again get caught in the eye of that needle if you're not, once again, like Jeff said, understanding where you are.
Yeah, that's a valid point, Charles. And really what you just described is that in relationships, we play 2 roles and we flip back and forth. We're either the victim or we're the perpetrator. And that is clearly a woman who uses the victim role to seduce a partner or a potential partner. That's my net of what you just described. So she plays the role, and she uses that to hook you, to find a man that feels sorry for her, and you fell into the trap. So the question is how do we avoid falling into those types of traps, whether we're Charles at Peace or with Deb or Brandy or any, male or female. This is not secular by any means. This is a challenge in all relationships? That's a great question. I want to come back to a question that Stephanie asked in a moment here. But Josh, you've been sitting here on the sidelines, and I'd like to invite you to really share, because sometimes there is something called a happy ending. And when we talk about a breakup and a breakthrough, for you in this moment, you shared something in the green room before we all got together here. And if you're comfortable to share an update, where are you and your girlfriend, lady friend, in your relationship? What's happened since the breakup? I know you touched on it very briefly in the opening, but where are the two of you, and how has your relationship changed since you both had that breakthrough moment?
Yeah, it was, well, gosh, it's just been such a whirlwind week in my own head, unpacking all of that, the amazing realizations. It's an opportunity. It was an amazing nugget to learn about myself. And unlike Charles, I was the perpetrator in this, and I was the one that needed the mirror to see, and she was a beautiful delivery vehicle for that. And I decided that I missed her, and I didn't miss roles, or I didn't miss secondary gains. You know, if we talk about secondary gains, when I looked at things honestly, I missed her, that beautiful heart, that beautiful soul that I had met. And so we decided to use this as a breakthrough to new levels for us, and just to hold each other in that space of loving kindness, and see what happens next. See what's beyond this place that I've never been past before. This is, it's like going through the dense forest and hacking your way, and all of a sudden you come out into a clearing and you've never been there before. So I don't know what the future is, but I do know that we both are holding each other in such a beautiful space of love. Her holding me through this amazing lesson that I've been handed and delivered, in large part through her. This message has come through. So I am just in gratitude, and still, I'll be honest, this is a new clearing, and I'm figuring it out.
Mary Kelly just asked you a question. She said, what was her breakthrough? We heard your breakthrough. I'll invite you to repeat your breakthrough real briefly. And then what was her breakthrough?
I can't speak to her breakthrough. I'll leave that up to her. But yes, she had one too, and it was beautiful. It was, we both see it as an opportunity. And so, yes, absolutely. We both had one.
What I'm hearing, if I may paraphrase, between what you and At Peace has shared tonight, is that there's a level of maturity between the two of you. You both are seeking something, and through the breakup, you both felt safe enough to really share really what the block was in a relationship, or a major block. And you both were willing to show up, not with anger, not with rage, not with playing games, not with shame, not with guilt, not with attacking, but just speaking from loving kindness from your heart and expressing what wasn't working in a relationship. And that's simple, not easy. Believe me, I was in a 30-year marriage, and even in a 30-year marriage, especially in the last number of years, it was really difficult to feel safe to express what I was truly feeling without being worried or concerned that it would somehow be misinterpreted or turned, or some form of gaslighting. And so it's simple, not easy, because we're all in a different space, and we're not all ready to show up and grow up in a relationship, especially if we haven't done any work. And if we're still showing up as that reckless younger self as an adult, all bets are off.
Right.
All bets are off.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, most people are showing up in full wounded child mode in relationships.
You're right about that. You're right.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like the space where we're at right now. And I think that I love it, actually, especially as men here talking, that we realize that we have to look at ourselves in these situations first. Right. So, and that's key, because a lot of times it's easy to point the finger. It's easy to make somebody out to be the villain, as we are the victim. But I think that, going forward, being able to realize, hey, you know what? Let's look at this in a mature way. What am I really looking at here? And understand that is key. And so I think that I love the space that we're all in right here, because it shows some serious maturity. Because I don't want to blame that person on the fact that I saw a ton of red flags. The fact that, when I saw some red flags and witnessed some stuff that I'm even ashamed to say, because it was like, dude, what are you doing? What did you just witness there? I mean, it was so bad one time. It was just, I had to literally in the morning, I had to apologize to my kids because of their behavior. And I've never had that happen before, not even with my kid's mother. And that toxicity was there. So it was one of those things. And once again, me just trying to feel like I'm helping and giving back, and saw something that was wounded and trying to, but once again, I have to look inside of me and say, dude, you had no business doing that, so.
Charles, that's what I love about you. I really do. You've got such an amazing heart, and it's difficult, but it's possible to accept the reality that not everybody can be saved.
Yeah.
It's not our responsibility to save other people. Truly it's their responsibility to want to save themselves. And how we could show up and meet them halfway is by, if they're worthy, if they're safe for you and exposure to your children, then you could meet them halfway by being a good listener, and not trying to save them or change them, but just give them permission to feel safe to share what's going on in their world. But again, ultimately, if they're not willing to do any work and they just want to continue to play that victim role, then, you mentioned that you apologize to your children.
Yeah.
Here's the question, and this is one of those tough questions, but I'm going to ask it, because this is how I show up in this show. Were you apologizing to your children for her behavior, or were you apologizing to your children for exposing them to your behavior?
Yeah, exposing them to that. Because it wasn't my behavior. It was allowing that, because even in that moment, it was me trying to once again help.
Yeah.
Because I felt like they were, needed to vent and I'm like, it was more of allowing them to see something that they've never seen before or heard before,
Well, there's a great lesson right in there. If there's no other lesson that we can learn, my God, is what is our role as a parent to protect our children from seeing things they don't need to see? Now, I'm asking that question not just for you. I was right there too. Believe me, there were things that, looking back, I could have done a better job of protecting my children, but I didn't, because I didn't know what I didn't know. You see, when we don't know what we don't know, we don't have to live in guilt and shame and blame. But once we understand, and once we have some clarity, some vision, some awareness, it's a game changer, because once we know what we know, there's no going back. Because if we go back, then all bets are off. Then then we're no different. We're still in a chaos with them. Ev, what are you making of all this here right now?
Absolutely beautiful, my brother. And I mean, you hit it on the head. And a lot of our viewers out there talking the same thing. The name of the game is awareness. This is all beautiful time to experience, and we have, like I said at the start of the show, to experience some of these life lessons through these things we call relationships. So, whether we react, whether we respond to these relationships, it all really does come back to this emotional intelligence that we talk about. The earth is purging the emotions that have been on this planet from day one. So when we were able to release some of these deeper, these more negative, you might say, or some of these more stuck emotions within our body, we're able to release, we're able to surrender to the process that is going on. We don't have to react anymore based on the wounding of past relationships or our childhood. It's really a time to progress forward and see the light that's really at the end of the tunnel for all these relationships.
Beautiful. Stephanie asked the question. Believe it or not, we are about 10 minutes from the hour. This hour has flown by.
So fast.
I really like to acknowledge this question that she asked, and maybe this is what I'd like us to take the focus of what time we do have left on air tonight. The question, she says, is how available are we all really? Do we show up? Does it feel real? Or is it just a show? Anybody want to take a stab at this question and answer?
It's all a show, Steph. This is all a beautiful show. It is the game. But are you a game changer? And are you being the avatar of your own game? Or you're sitting around based on an old program that is playing the game for you? See, when we start turning up into our own lives, like our sister has said, and we actually start taking responsibility, that ability to respond to these events, situations, or people that come into our lives, then we can take ownership and be able to move forward to the life that we want to see out there. We start to realize that we're no different from the person that we were, even though we went into this relationship and may have broken apart. We can still be that strong and that capable, that lovable person. We can still have that relationship and learn lessons from it. And we can still follow a path that is our own path, not based on someone else that comes into our life, not based on previous belief systems or old programs of what a relationship should look like. But like I said at the start of this show, based on a partnership that is with you, yourself. So then when that person comes into your life, it's synchronized to the higher frequency of your highest version.
Stephanie follows it up, Ev, and thank you for sharing that. But here's a follow-up question. The question is this a setup? So Steph says, is it a game or a purpose? I think you're referring to relationships. Mr. Fasano, why don't you take this one? Is it a game or a purpose?
It's not a game. And if you think it's a game, then you've got some work to do. You really, really need to do some work on yourself, because it is a purpose, and it's all about what you want inside your heart, what's important to you, what's inside your heart. And it is about being available. It is about, we've been doing this show for 3 months. We've been talking about programming, old conditioning. And it's really about every relationship we have. If we can learn one little thing about our conditioning and programming from that relationship to cut into that, to let that go, that is what those relationships were for. But it's not, to me, it's not a game. To me, it's about what is important for us. If we want intimacy and love in our life, it is about, that is what is important for us. So that would be our purpose, to have a relationship with someone. My unavailability that I'm learning, that I have learned from being in unavailable relationships the last few years was that I am frightened to death to show up and be who I am.
Boom.
Mm.
I am
Boom.
frightened to death to show up and be who I am. Bring the wounded child with me. And then when those feelings of being so unsafe based upon what I learned from mom is that I needed to show up, and I now am getting to the point where I can go in, open my eyes, look directly in somebody's eyes, and not fear that trembling fear inside of me that I'm going to be abandoned and betrayed. And I can let that being there to move in and have that look in somebody's eyes and not feel that trembling fear inside of myself that if I show up being me, you're not going to love me. You're going to love me for what I'm going to give you, what I'm going to do for you, take care of your needs. And there was this trembling fear inside of me when somebody available came in and they're open. And then I became so frightened. That is where my unavailability was. So I was creating and connecting with unavailable women because that's where my unavailability was, because I was frightened to death. That wounded little boy would stand there and look at you with my eyes wide open, trembling to my core that I was so unsafe being there, that it was going to be all about you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I am now getting to that point through working with an amazing gentleman in New York City right now, that safety inside of me. It's not that person or that woman who's making me feel safe. That's what I was looking for. That's my unavailability, looking for mom to make me feel safe.
Yeah.
That safety is now inside of me, so I can be fully who I am and know, because I'm learning to love me more deeply, that whoever I meet, that is going to be, that's already going to be there.
Beautiful.
And it used to frighten to death to me. And I still feel, it just frightened me saying that to all these people.
Yeah,
and exactly what I'm saying, Jeff, if you don't mind me just saying, because when I talk about this being a beautiful game, Jeff's talking about still being the wounded child. Is that available? No, it's not. But when a child is feeling safe, secure, it's in play.
Yeah. And what we could do,
nation. Please listen.
And what we could do for each other.
And sorry, brother. And it becomes balanced with the father and the mother that is within the body itself. See, we constantly keep thinking outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't get the balance, whereas the inner child wants to play now. But because we have grown up too quickly from old belief systems and old programs, that's why we don't look at this as a game. We don't look to play. We don't look to enjoy. We look to be too serious. And that's why we're in the problems that we're in on the planet right now.
Yep.
I want to thank both Evis and Jeff. Both of you guys are dropping some liquid bombs here. No doubt.
I physically feel like I just dropped a bomb.
Well, here's the thing, Jeff, is that all I could do in this moment is just give you this virtual hug. Because if I could touch you right now, brother, I would have you wrapped in my arms and just giving you a hug from a brother. Because you are just so freaking real, and you are so lovable, and I love the man that you are today. I probably may not have loved the man that you were in your younger years just the same way. I didn't love this man at all. I had no self-love. I lacked that, and I'm in a relationship today that is it's very healthy. It's the first relationship in my adult life that I can say tonight, I've trusted to be able to show up and grow up and feel safe to express my feelings and my concerns or worries, even in a relationship. It wasn't something that I have experienced for most of my life. And the reason was because I had to really go back and heal the first relationship I ever had in order for all my relationships moving forward to be healthier. And that was the relationship I had with the first woman in my life, which is my mom. And when I say healing that relationship, it's the inner work. It's the work that I had to do for myself, within myself, regarding the relationship I had. And by doing that and having the courage to do that, and it's not like it sounds maybe more intimidating than it needs to be. It doesn't have to be guided. It could be a beautiful experience. And that's the type of work I love doing today with my clients, because I know it works. I know that through that, it allowed me to break through, to break free, so that I no longer have to hold back. I had an opportunity just yesterday to really go deep with Mary and share some things that I've been uncomfortable with. I needed to express.
Good for you.
I could never have done that without it going sideways, without it becoming a blow-up fight and accusations and feelings that were misinterpreted from what I shared. And that to me is ultimate growth, is that when we're able to be in a relationship where we can express our worries, our fears, our insecurities, and know that we can come on the other side of that conversation and be even more connected than we were 30 or 40 or 45 minutes earlier. That, my friends, is growth.
Yep.
And so with what time we do have, I'm going to invite each one of you to drop. You got 2 minutes to drop your own, let's say, inner wisdom or intuition, as far as what can we do to have our breakthroughs when we break up in a relationship, so that we can begin to experience perhaps even breaking free from our own inner demons and black magic that we have spoken for most of our life. And I'm gonna invite Josh Richard to open us up with a close. 2 minutes, my friend.
All right. Just listening to all you guys, God, I love this space. I realize now that the breakup was with my old stories, my old beliefs. Wasn't with the woman at all. And to be able to be vulnerable and to have that met with love and kindness, like you were talking about your talks with Mary, is unique to me as well. Relationships in the past have gone sideways in that moment. And so I'm just going to close being humble tonight, and know that I'm in a learning space. I'm in a growing space. I love being here with you guys. I get so much. So I'm just going to close with a big heart filled with gratitude for so many things tonight.
Beautiful, brother.
Yeah.
Well, at peace, you're up. You got 2 minutes.
I want to once again thank you guys, and even thank everybody who listens and tunes into this show, because had I not had the support here over the last couple of weeks, because once again, I don't have a lot of friends here. I don't have no family here. It would have been a rough ride, because I might not have been able to look at some of these things the way I look at it now. I've learned a lot just expressing, because you guys see me, man. You wasn't getting too much emotion and too much feeling out of me. I wasn't sharing any of these stories. It was kind of hard to say that one piece tonight. I wasn't even going to mention that, because once again, it's I'm very protective of my kids. So You know, that was one that I was gonna leave out, but I felt like, you know what, man, I've been seeing a lot of people, you know, especially in the public eye, who have been just very open about a lot of different things. And while I'm, you know, in the public eye and make TV shows, I don't share too much, but I see a lot of people who do, and that's their truth. So I wanted to definitely speak their truth. I can't do a television show and be a director and ask people on my show to share their truth, especially on 8 days, and let out the darkest, deepest stuff. But yet I don't let out the darkest, deepest stuff. So I definitely thank you guys for riding this ride with me. I think that sometimes I need to just mind my business. I can't fix everyone. I should have literally stuck to my gut feeling, because that gut was right on from the moment that I met the person. And there were so many signs that literally back to back to back that I just ignored, because I'm figuring I'm going to be there and help them. And so I need to mind my business sometimes, man, and just focus on what I have to do, and the loved ones that I do have, because I have some amazing people in my life, literally all around the world, and who give me that energy. And over the last couple of weeks, so many beautiful people, from Mary to Donna to you name it, to where's my girl over there, my beautiful sweetheart of a friend of our show. I don't know how I'm forgetting her name right now. From Texas, Sherry. My girl Sherry been holding me down. Brandy been holding me down, and it's made this ride a little bit easier. But definitely won't allow myself to be in certain spaces anymore where that lack of judgment comes in. Because once again, I saw the lack of judgment when that moment, even from the inception, it was a lack of judgment. It was something that it was a lack of judgment, even in the inception, on my part. So,
But you know what? It happens.
yeah, it does. It does. It does.
We all make mistakes, and that's okay too. And I want to invite you. You said the word should. You should have done things differently, and I want to invite you to reframe that to could, because, like Jay says, you don't know what you don't know, and life goes on. It's the growing in this moment now that makes the difference in your future.
Beautiful.
Or Charles, how about, from what I've learned from all of this and my behaviors, the next time I will know better.
Hey, I'm not here to be read now, guys. Come on. All of that. But thank you.
This is a love fest. This is what we do. You know what I'm hearing Jeff and Josh say, it's just about tweaking a word or two that we say, because what we don't know is how powerful the words are that we speak, that actually pave the way for a moment in the now. And so when we just change one word, it changes the energy and how we interpret and how we embrace ourselves. And both these guys are coming from love, because by the words they're suggesting are words that you feel better about you. And so that's why this is Real Men, Real Talk Live, because, you know, we're not going to always say say something that we think we want to hear, but sometimes we need to hear it so that we can grow. And so I love this show tonight. This show has been an awesome show. I'm going to invite Jeff Asano. You got less than 2 minutes to give us some wisdom. Drop a bomb here as far as how do we get from a breakup to a breakthrough to break free.
I'm going to be with Josh on this. I'm feeling so much gratitude right now. I saw my friend Alexandra on the show, and all the love that I've had for her and our relationship over 20 years that I've learned so much from. you guys just opening your hearts to me. I came in tonight and I was a little shut down at the beginning, but through the show, my heart, it has cracked open in this show, sharing what I've shared about me, and you guys being there, and in that place of just acceptance for where I am right now. It's about opening, allowing your heart to open and receive the love, and have that person across from you that is safe enough to be who they are. And then in turn, you're safe to be who you are. And you're both creating this amazing safe space, like you guys have done for me tonight and have done for months, and my friend Alexandra has done for me for 20 years. To know that I'm safe to be me. So it's always from that, I'm sharing that there is somebody out there, and there's a whole bunch of people in your life right now who will hold that safe place for you to be who you are.
Beautiful, brother.
Love you, Jeff.
Love you, brother.
Now, for those that may not understand what Jeff just said, let me break it down.
Powerful.
It's not the words he spoke, but it's how he delivered it. I don't believe those tears that I saw in your eyes right now are tears of sadness, regret, blame, shame, or anger. Those are true tears of gratitude. I know that. I heard you, Jeff. And thank you.
Yeah, you can tell, Jeff, man, you have taken a journey. You have to, I wish I can just ride some of that journey with you, man, because you I can tell that you have seen life and you're at a different space right now, and it's amazing that, you know, we're able to share this with other people, because it's learning. Like I said, I learn from you guys all the time, and every day I pick up so many things from you, and that's probably why I'm, you know, expressing myself a little bit more than I first did, because I've seen you guys be vulnerable, which allowed me to be vulnerable too as well, and it feels good. It feels good, and to know that, you know, some of the people here really are touched by us being vulnerable, when at times, you know, we feel like we shouldn't be vulnerable, or it's, you know, not the manly thing to do to be vulnerable, but so it's I thank you, Jeff, for being vulnerable and allowing us to walk that with you right now, because we're all walking it. I mean, if it's not Josh sharing what he's dealing with, or Jay sharing some of his, you know, where he's at, and obviously it's been a ride for him too as well, and Evis sharing, you know, his past, and it's deep. It's deep.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, Jeff, I just want to say one more thing to you, because if you don't know this, I've really fallen in love with you, especially tonight. And I know you know that. I've shared this with you in private conversations, even with the men in our meetings. But I just want to say this, is that you deserve to be loved, because you are so lovable. And just trust. Earlier this week, I know you did a live on faith. Just continue to have faith in the process of your own journey. That, you know, perhaps the universe or God is setting you up because you deserve it. Just continue to have faith in the process and show up for yourself.
Thanks, Matt.
And let the magic happen. Get ready, buckle that seatbelt and that magic carpet ride.
Thank you.
And so, what's that? Peace.
I'll say this last thing. Once again, I love this because iron sharpens iron. And, whether we're in a relationship now or looking to be in a relationship, I think that, if more men did this, and I'm just talking men now because it's real men, real talk, we'll put out more quality people, man, that will do the right thing when it's time to show up. And I just love this. I just love this.
Thanks, Charles. Well, we're gonna mix things up here tonight. We're gonna bring Ev in to do his. You got 2 minutes to drop your bomb. I'm gonna move you into the hot seat right next to me, Charles. You're.
I'm done. Yeah, I said my piece. It's
By no means am I asking you that your voice doesn't matter, because it matters. Does it matter? But right now, I want to be real close to Ev because I want to hear everything you got to say.
Take us home, Evan.
Oh, it's hot here. It's hot.
Take us home, brother.
I don't need to say much. I think our audience out there can see how deep the show's been. And, for all of us as a collective, we get this opportunity to come on a platform like this and play this game of life and, enjoy this beautiful healing experience that not only we as individuals are going through, but we as a collective, as a community are going through. We have these beautiful things called relationships, and, we don't have to look at them as an overwhelming thing. I think we've started to understand that we look at these things as an opportunity to move to that highest possible version of ourselves, an opportunity to move to a higher state of frequency on the planet. We don't have to look at these relationships as a blame or shame game anymore. We can look at it more as a responsibility in our own lives to step into that life that we've always dreamed and we wanted to live. We don't have to allow to be walked over. We don't have to be walked over. We can act now and we can action that person that we want to live. We don't have to be impatient to some of these circumstances, events, people that may come into our lives and react on it, but we can be patient and stir up the recipe for what we do want to see, not only in our own lives, but for those people that we want to bring into our life and as a family on the planet. We need to ask ourselves, if the relationship did not work, how was I turning up? How was I turning up in this relationship? What didn't I bring to the table? What didn't they bring to the table? What can I do and bring to the table next time? Because when we start to get into those shoes as the inner child, we start being the creator. I'm over here. I've started painting for the last couple of weeks. I'm creating.
Nice.
I'm out bush. I'm walking around. I'm creating. I'm playing. I'm in my play.
Yeah.
It does not have to be a battlefield anymore. But give yourselves time to heal. Give yourselves time to show gratitude to this process, and give yourself time to thank that person and trust in yourself. Because when that time does heal, you'll be able to follow the true path of your higher self. And on that note, my brothers and sisters, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Blessings, brother. Blessings. Yeah.
Love
As
it.
always, Evis Love Heath, dropping a bomb, bringing it home. I would, my closing thoughts are real simple. It's very easy to get caught up in the blame game, blame and shame, and lack of accountability. If we want our relationships to become healthier, it's our responsibility to become healthier. If we want to show up and grow up and have mature relationships, we have to be willing to hold ourselves accountable for what works and what doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, to have the courage to ask the questions and just be prepared for the answers. And then we even get to figure out, are the answers true? There's where learning how to trust your inner intuition matters. Trust is a word that I didn't understand. I didn't understand it in my life because I didn't know how to show up, first for myself. I didn't trust myself. Therefore, I didn't trust others. And then they didn't trust me. And it's that cycle, becomes that loop. Our relationships can get better, but not always. Sometimes we have to have the courage to step out so that we can break free, to experience what we all deserve. It's not about playing games anymore. Games are for children. By no means am I saying that as adults we don't create playtime for our own self. Believe me, I do. Just as Ev goes into the bush, I go into the outback here in northern Arizona. I played for 7 hours today in a hot desert, and I had a lot of fun. But I was also responsible while I was doing all that. I want to take a moment to thank the viewers and listeners that show up with us every week, hold space, ask the questions, support the work we're doing. We appreciate you so, so much. All we ask is that if you heard something that resonated with you tonight, please share it out with your friends and family. Please let them know how the show may be impacting your life, your health, your relationships. And know this, it's not about the show, it's about the message. And with that, I love you guys. We'll see you next week. Charles, you got one more thing? You usually say.
I had a couple people, man, hit me up and literally saying, man, they don't want it to end. If I can ask them to extend it and all that kind of stuff like that. But we did, and we just want you to keep tuning in. Like I said, we're working on some things, and hopefully Jay will have the link up so you guys, or maybe you can contact Jay if you want some hats and some cups, because I know Sherry mentioned about having some, and I'm sure there's a bunch of people who would love to grab them. So maybe you can contact Jay directly, and he can set you up with some hats and some mugs.
All right.
Beautiful.
Share, guys.
Love you guys. It was a beautiful show.
Magic.
All right.
Beautiful show.
Thank you, guys. Love you. We'll see you next week on Real Men, Real Talk Live.
Yeah, baby.